In the 70s, this morning's guest competed for the Miss South Carolina crown as Miss Greer. Fast forward 30-some years to 2 weeks ago, and now she's judging the Miss South Carolina pageant. Who is she? You'll meet her coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're in the lobby of the Spartanburg Memorial Auditorium in Spartanburg, South Carolina. We're focused on the Miss South Carolina pageant, which was held here a couple of weeks ago, and we're visiting with one of its judges and a Senior Director of Government and Public Affairs for BP America, Kathy Randall. Good morning, Kathy.
Yeah, good to see you.
Thanks so much for coming back up here.
Oh, listen, thanks so much for inviting me.
After having spent 10 days here in Spartanburg, of course, your home county, I believe, knowing this county well.
Well, I grew up here. It's no longer my home county.
Right, your hometown county, excuse me. That's our home community.
That's right.
You still have family in the upstate?
I still have a lot of family up here.
Is that right?
Yes, a great deal.
You get up to visit them often?
Well, as much as I can, and I'm trying to see a few of them. I did try to see a few of them while I was up here, yes.
Right. Of course, you actually live down at the coast, so it's probably that they're coming down
yeah,
to see you in Somerville.
Probably a great deal more.
Absolutely. Golly, how exciting. And the pageant here a couple of weeks ago, was it unbelievable?
I thought it was so much fun, and I learned so much. I just could not believe all the young women who were involved in it. It was great.
Right,
it was great.
Right. We kicked off the week with Joey and Gail Sanders here this week. Had Dr. Adrian Johnson, one of the other judges, with us yesterday. And tomorrow, one of your good friends, the Honorable Rita Allison, will be with us.
Oh, you've got a good group.
Oh, yeah, actually on Friday. I don't know if you knew it. You may want to come back for this. Miss America is going to be with us, Kirsten Hagelin.
How did you manage that?
You know, she was with us a couple of weeks ago here at the auditorium, and of course for the pageant, and was willing to come on back. She loves Spartanburg so much. She was willing to come back. I think she said she's traveling about 20,000 miles a month. So a couple extra thousand miles didn't matter as she was traveling around.
Get some more good peaches, too.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I mentioned that you're the Senior Director for Government and Public Affairs for BP America. Does that require you to travel the Southeast?
I do. I travel. I have the Southeast states, so I travel a good bit, particularly during the legislative season. You know, it's on my own time, too.
Right.
It's not every day, but it is a good bit of travel. It's not 20,000 miles a month.
Yeah, of course, sure. And with the Internet and new forms of communication, you're probably able to do a good bit from home, or do you have to
I have been working out of my home for the past number of years, but I'm moving my office to Columbia, or we're having our office moved to Columbia.
How exciting. Of
yes.
course, a town you know very well.
Yes.
Both your undergraduate, your master's, and your law degree, all from that
all
the
from
city
the
of
same,
Columbia.
all from the city of Columbia.
Speaking of that, it was interesting reading about a little bit about your background there, and seeing that your master's and your undergraduate degree were both in psychology or in counseling.
Counseling and psychology.
Right.
I was really interested in that early on. Probably still am. I like to know why people tick and.
Right.
Trying to figure all that out, but
Yeah.
that's probably one of the reasons. But you know, then after that, I decided to go to law school. So I don't know what that says about my psyche. But
That's probably why, I hate to say, just hearing you say why people tick, I remember one of the good questions you had posed to some of the young ladies, obviously, was what makes you tick and what ticks you off, which was great.
That
and
was
some
a
of
great
them
one.
handled them very well. All of them handled that question very well.
They certainly did.
I see now why you were asking it. That's exactly right. And of course, law, did you go immediately into law school right out?
No, I did not. I ended up going, I worked in a number of places, a number of jobs. I had the great fortune to work for a gentleman named Phil Lader at Hilton Head when he was president of Sea Pines, and then when he ran for political office, he ran for governor, and I worked for him then. And while I was working on that political campaign, he encouraged me to think about going to law school.
Is that right?
So meanwhile, I get married and have a child, and at 40 years old, I decide I will go to law school.
Oh, come on. You started at age 40.
I started at age
Kathy.
40,
Wow.
yes. So there's always hope.
Yes. I may even have that.
Yes.
That's great.
But it was wonderful. I don't think I would have made it through law school if I'd gone earlier. I don't think I would have been prepared for it.
What was it about law school that makes you think that? Is it that it's that rigorous? Or,
it is incredibly rigorous,
right.
but I think at that point I was focused on too many other things. If you're going to law school, you really need to focus on being at law school for that period of time.
Right.
But I just think I was definitely in a place where I was ready to do something different, and law school excited me.
You must have had great support from your husband and daughter. At that time.
Incredible support. I
Yeah.
have an incredible family who has always been very supportive. I have a great husband who said after the first day when I said, I don't think I can stay up here, this is too hard, and he said, just pretend you're going to war for 3 months. You know, it was during the Gulf War.
Right.
And he said, pretend you're going to the war,
right.
and you're not going for a year, you're going for 3 months. You can do it for 3 months. And he said, and you can come home and we can come up there. So
Good
we
for
managed.
him.
It was great. It was good. It brought all of us closer together.
I'm sure that helped him bond with his own baby girl.
Oh,
with
he
his
learned
daughter.
how to braid her hair.
I'm still working on that, Kathy. My God.
I know you have Emma Claire,
Yeah.
and she's the light of your life,
Oh,
and
she is.
my daughter is, you know, my heart walking outside my body. So,
You know, speaking of that, of course, your daughter, I believe, Aldi, is 21 and soon to...
just turned 22 a month ago.
Is that right?
And, yes, and getting ready to go into the MBA program at Clemson.
Is that right?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
That's tremendous. In thinking about that, did you see some similarities between your own daughter and some of the young ladies competing in the pageant a couple weeks ago?
Yes, so in so many ways, because the girls who competed in the pageant, I was just so impressed about what they wanted to do as they went forward, and they were really here for the scholarships. I mean, it's an incredible way to have someone else pay your fee when you're in school. But I was also surprised about how many the girls were older who were getting advanced degrees, and that's why they were competing.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yes,
We're
it really
looking forward
was.
to talking to Dr. Johnson about that tomorrow. Some of those thoughts as an educator, how fascinating it was to see some of the young ladies who'd obviously gotten inspired at an early age to want to begin thinking about their future, about math or science or
I mean, you had to be surprised yourself at some wanted, they were going to law school, they were getting their MBAs, the comparative literature and Middle Eastern,
Right.
whatever that was. I mean,
yeah.
I was just amazed.
I couldn't believe it. I know I wouldn't want to be competing against any of them for class rank to try to move up the totem pole in any school, North Carolina or South Carolina.
Yes.
These are very strong young ladies.
They were.
It was amazing. You know, as you think through so many steps for you, and I think I noticed that you'd actually been in a pageant or in a series of pageants, had been Miss Greer and competed for Miss South Carolina. Was competing back then, was it as much about scholarship back then as it is now?
It was about
Right.
scholarship for sure, but it was very different and probably not as the caliber. I don't want to say the caliber of girls, but I don't think school or college or advanced degrees was as important.
Sure.
Although I think it was still based on how do you pay your way to school.
Right, very much so. That's exciting. Growing up in the upstate, had there ever been a thought that you would either A, rush out of the upstate, or B, that you'd never leave the upstate? Did you have those
I love
feelings?
the upstate.
Yeah.
I loved it, but everywhere I have lived, I've loved it as well. I live in the lower part of the state now, the low country.
Right.
And I just can't imagine ever leaving it at this
Really?
point.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I love a lot that's up here, the mountains, all the trees. I said you can hear wind up here. But I also adore the low country.
You've really covered the entire state, growing up in the upcountry, obviously attending school for almost a decade in the Midlands, the total of a decade
Worked
in the
in
Midlands.
Hilton
and
Head.
Working in Hilton Head. You just haven't visited the Strand as much.
I
although
worked in Myrtle Beach for a summer.
Is that right?
Yes. I was a waitress for a day, and they fired me.
Oh, for a
So
summer.
I ended up
That's
giving
right.
out towels at a pool.
Oh, come on, Kathy. Well, I loved hearing you talk about bringing your daughter and some of her girlfriends up to the different water parks in the Myrtle Beach area. Wild Water, Myrtle Waves. There's so many great water parks.
And the pavilion. Oh
the
my
pavilion.
goodness, they thought that was magical. You know, we
love
could
it.
hour-and-a-half trip up to Myrtle Beach, and the kids were, they were just in heaven.
There's not a person throughout the Palmetto State, throughout the country, who's ever visited the pavilion who doesn't miss it, particularly locals
Yes, yeah.
who really didn't not take it for granted, folks who really took advantage of it and loved it who don't miss it dearly.
And I haven't been back since it's demolished, I guess, now.
It has been wiped out.
Oh.
Yeah, 11 acres right there in the heart of Myrtle Beach that are wide open. Beautiful opportunity for future development. I'm sure the Burrs and Chapin Company, who owns that and much of the land in Horry County, are probably planning some great things down the road. Some great things down the road. What was that like working for Phil later? Andy, how exciting!
Wow.
What a superstar! Wasn't he an ambassador to the UK?
He turned out he was ambassador to the Court of St. James in London, but under Bill Clinton's administration.
Right.
Phil is a phenomenal man. I don't know if you've had a chance to meet him or interview him yet, but he is just a wonderful man who has the widest range of talents of anyone I've ever met.
Absolutely. I've got to tell you, I actually met him down in the bowels of the Hard Rock Cafe in Myrtle Beach.
Now, what was Phil doing there?
A young Mary Edie, a woman in Myrtle Beach, had invited Phil to come speak to a group there, and he did great.
Mary worked on the campaign as well.
Right. That may have been about the same time. I'm not sure. That wouldn't have been in the mid-'90s, though.
No, it was 86.
Yes,
86.
yes. So 10 years later, he was in Myrtle Beach, right after the Hard Rock Cafe opened, and still spreading his magic around throughout the Palmetto State. And of course, he had helped kick off the Renaissance Weekend.
He did. Right? In fact, when I was working for him, that was one of the things I worked on was Renaissance Weekend, which brings in a phenomenal group of people to sit around for a weekend and discuss what's been bugging you lately. You know,
I bet you garnered a lot from that, Kathy.
Oh, it was great. It was wonderful.
It must have been exciting. Somerville is where, in relation, for viewers on the Strand and the PD who may not have been to Somerville, is that on the coast exactly?
It is 30 miles north of Charleston, and it is an old historical town where Charlestonians used to come up to summer, so hence the name Somerville. So lots of historical old homes. It's just a beautiful, beautiful locale.
I didn't know that. I always thought for some reason it was right on the coast, but I'm glad you explained that.
No, it's on the Ashley River, but one thing, Somerville has the only 5-star hotel and restaurant that was also voted #1 in Travel and Leisure magazine as the best hotel and restaurant in the whole United States. It's in Somerville, South Carolina.
You were kidding. What is it?
Woodlands.
Woodlands, yes,
Woodlands,
yes.
The Woodlands,
Have you actually ever left your home and gone over there to stay?
I have once. We did it as a lark, and it's a wonderful place.
It's worth the 5-star rating. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. It is, and the dining part of it is exquisite. So it's very nice. It's very nice.
Exciting. I think I saw in reading a little bit about you, Kathy, that Somerville is tied into a lot of the groups you're involved in. I saw you're president of the Somerville Cotillion. What exactly is that? I've seen that word. Of course, having a 5-year-old daughter, this may be something I need to start thinking about. I'm not sure.
Well, it's very interesting because when I first heard about it, I consider myself a progressive feminist. And I thought, well, now why would I want my daughter to make her debut, at 19 to society? But after I got in and talked to some of the women in it, it's really sort of like a pageant. That what you are doing is you're giving them skills, you're empowering young women to go out and say, I want a leadership role. It has a community service component to it, but these young girls start in the 4th and 5th grade, and they go to cotillion classes and learn manners. They learn about proper ways of introduction, and in the long run, it helps you. I mean, manners always help you. I mean, the lovely thing about Southerners is they are mannerly, I think.